Omid and Kojo Show.
Welcome back to the Omid Kojo Show. It's your boy Omid, and it's the other boy, Samuel Kojo Plumber.
Hello.
And this is the Alexander Frederick Omidvar and Samuel Kojo Plumber Show. Doesn't quite have the same ring to it, does it?
That's what it is.
Today we're going to be getting into some juicy topics. We're going to be talking about I've forgotten all of the topics. Every single one.
We do have some juicy topics today. I think we should start with the sport karate one. I think we should open with that.
Okay.
So, do you want to explain the history, the background, set the scene?
Well, I'm going to blow my nose. So while I blow my nose, you do that.
I'm going to set the scene, and you're going to blow your big nos.
Right, give me like 10 minutes. There's a lot of nos to blow, right?
Oh, wow. I could just be silent while you do it. Everyone can just listen. But no, what we were going to talk about is how, like, 10 years ago when I started tricking, and back in the day before then, the very best trickers in the world were pretty much all from, like, a martial arts background. Like, most of them competed in sport karate, like, forms, doing all a bit of this, bit of that, bit of chop punch and all of that.
A lot of screaming.
A lot of swirling arms around in circles and then doing flips and kick in the air. There was a lot of that. But nowadays, and I've not seen anyone mention this, this is the first time that the very best trickers in the world, I'd say probably most of them now, aren't from a martial arts background. And I don't know about best, because you can't say best in terms of like style and stuff. That's a bit too subjective. But objectively the best in terms of difficulty level of their combos. They're not from sport karate. When you think about the top, like Shosei and Zen, and then like Fuju, like most of the Japanese, really.
Well, also if you look at like the all-round trickers as well, like even the ones where they're not the highest level, but they have incredible execution. They're more all-round, and they're not doing the same things that like Shosei and Johan are doing in terms of power, but they make tricks look incredible. And they're not, the majority of the time, from a martial arts background, which is something that, I don't know, it feels like it kind of creeped up on us.
It did, because it was very different. Like, I think I started around the same time as a wave of people, and you as well. I'd include it like anywhere between 2009 and 2012. I'd say that's kind of a period where people started, you know, like us and SGTF, and like there's a lot of people that we know that started around that time. Mm-hmm. And at that time, yeah, the people who came from forms were just way better than everyone else. No one could figure out how to do touchdown raise. I didn't meet anyone who could do touchdown raise. It's like you had to do sport karate. I wanted to get into forms. I remember going to Nathan's form class like one time and doing the chop punches because I'd seen that everyone that does forms can do like touchdown raise.
I thought certain weapons were cool. There was a period where for about 6 months I was kind of considering maybe getting into form. Whoa, you see that flash? Yeah, the lightning and thunder is crazy out here right now.
Yeah, it's going off here as well.
Yeah. But yeah, there was a period where I just thought, oh, maybe I could do some kind of weapon. Like maybe that'd be cool. That'd be like some kind of cool addition to my tricking. But then after a while, I was just like, I just really don't want to do that.
I think out of the weapons, in my opinion, I think the bow staff's the coolest one, mainly because it's like big. And it's like a big thing you can actually make these big shapes with. I think that's the coolest looking one. Some of them,
I think sword is the most.
Sword looks pretty dumb.
Well, it's the most anticlimactic because it seems like it should be cool. It's an actual like real weapon that has been used for millennia, and it's one of those really cool. Imagine if it was with like a long sword. Maybe it'd be different then.
It's one of those though, like with tricks, and we just kind of kick the air, and it's cool because you're throwing your whole body, and it's like whoa. But chopping the air with a sword,
I mean,
it's just a bit.
For me, like especially with the tricks that you and I'll do, like it's not as heavily kick based. Like you're never gonna see a combo from me and you that's just like purely vert kicks that are just like linear, just like round, round, hook, hook, round, round, hook, hook, and that's the whole combo. I think when you really throw the flips in and you're doing a combination of vert kicks into flips with twists and kicks, I feel like it removes that kind of forms element. Whereas the form stuff, it's all just kind of like it's a man stood there swinging his arms around a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think. But what we were talking about this earlier. But yeah, what are the reasons why the forms people, like the sports karate guys, were so far ahead of everyone else? And one of the big ones, I think, when I just think back to my own experience and starting tricking, is the fact that they have coaches. Pretty much anyone who does sport karate has a coach. And even if your coach doesn't even if they don't know much, it's way more useful than not having a coach. Yeah. Like Nathan told me in a 540 kick that I needed to keep my head up the whole time. Now, that seems like the most obvious thing in the world right now. But when I started, I just didn't know that. And the only tutorials at the time on YouTube were from like Kyle Epic Mendoza, and he was just teaching you terrible technique into your scoop corks and stuff. So I think they were so far ahead just because they had good coaching. But now everyone has good coaching, or there's way more good trickers. So people just have good trickers around them. And it's a lot easier for people who aren't from that kind of background and aren't coached into it.
Yeah. And I think just the overall knowledge base and understanding of the sport and of how to make tutorials and what's going to be useful in tutorials and things like that. Of course, like not all of the tutorials are going to be great. And to be honest, the vast majority of tutorials on YouTube are going to be subpar. But
because we can't spend much time on them. Like I wouldn't want to spend more than even a few hours on a tutorial just for YouTube when I'm not, you know. So, and to make a really good tutorial, which I've discovered, if you want to make a really in-depth tutorial, trying to make it the best you possibly can, it's going to take you at least 40 hours if you want to actually make it really good.
But it's like compare the average tutorial now compared to the average tutorial back then. I think the overall level is just, it's been like gone through the roof. But my point with that is like just kind of solidifying your point that there's more knowledge and information available for people.
There's some other things. There probably wasn't as many of us. The people who started like didn't start with a martial arts background. Tricking used to be mainly people who started with a martial arts background. But now just as it's gotten bigger, then like I feel like the people who start with a martial arts background, that number's like steadily risen. But obviously people who have no background, which is the majority of people, loads more of them have got into it. So it's kind of shifted the tides a bit.
Yeah, I think it's it did seem like it was going on for quite a while, but I guess that's just because like the whole top of the game has always just kind of been one person who's pretty far above everybody else.
But I think if you just look at the whole 10, so it's not too skewed by just one guy, then it's like when I started tricking, I guess it was just Velu and Rasmusot and Teddy, I suppose. They were the best non-martial arts trickers. Like, didn't start with martial arts. But then everyone else, like the Three Amigos and Michael Guthrie and Jacob Pinto and all of them.
the LA guys.
Yeah.
Like Micah and people like that. Even Matt Emig. Like, I was never that much of a fan of Matt Emig's style, but there is no denying that he was incredible.
He was good. Just like, really good at tricks.
For me, I'm not a huge fan of the way that he moved. And having said that, I've never seen him in person. And seeing someone in person does change things. But yeah, like I think it's definitely interesting to see. But my sister's cooking and she's put tons of paprika in this thing and I can't breathe properly because as she's cooking it's just going up this big nos of mine. But anyway,
I'm just thinking of all those parts. Every time you breathe in, it's like all the dust from around the room flying up there.
Yeah, we don't have a dust problem in this house at all. Never. I'm just gonna exist and it's just dealt with. But I think it's a really exciting thing that the sport has progressed to the point where it is getting that reach outside of it just being an attachment to other sports, because like it started from, you know, XMA stuff, and like it was just like a little bit of an add-on, and then it kind of grew and grew until it became its own thing. I think it's just super dope to see that now it's got to the point where anybody that sees it is just like, oh, I'm gonna get into this, and then they do.
Well, you know what's crazy? There must have been, like, there'd be no way to measure it, but there was a day in time where it shifted from there being more people who do tricking than sport karate. Because I think more people do tricking than sport karate now. If you just include Flips kids who know what tricking is and like would say, oh yeah, I do tricking, and they, you know, I think there's way more people who do tricking than sport karate.
Really?
Yeah. Because it's just anyone who's watched YouTube videos and stuff. Think of all the people who've just seen tricking YouTubers, and they can do some little combos. They're doing their little scootfuls. These kids, there's way more of them than people whose parents take them to a martial arts class and then specifically get into sport karate, where they don't even let you do flips for like years sometimes. Like I think and it costs loads as well. It's like, yeah, it costs loads to get into that.
That's true, but I would imagine I don't know. I don't really know, to be honest, because I would imagine that there's still just tons of rich Americans where because it's more of an established thing, there's going to be tons of martial arts schools, and there's not going to be as much like actual exposure for parents to get their kids into tricking. Well, it's not necessarily that they won't put their kids into tricking. It's just that I feel like it's a lot more accessible.
Well, I mean, the kids the kids just do it because there's so many garden trampolines about. Yeah,
true. I guess. But yeah, I don't know. I genuinely have no idea.
Don't know. There's no way of knowing. Josh Thurbin says, out of my student base of 250, I have a comp team of 25 to 30 kids. Like, that's a lot of kids. But I think there's more people that do tricking than sport karate now. That would just be my guess. Just because of YouTube, because of like Plan Zero and then like Bailey Payne and channels like that. There's just, it kind of depends if you include flippers in that. But lots of kids who call themselves flippers, they still learn like a 540 kick, and they do cork, and they do like scoop full, you know, they do little combos. So they kind of are doing tricking. And I think there's more of them than people in organized like sport karate. But I don't know, maybe not. You know,
I just feel like there's more kids that are just forced. I feel like that's something that hasn't really changed over the years. There's just tons of kids, especially in the UK and in America, that are just forced to go to these martial arts schools and do these. Do these things because it's a more well-established thing.
In the UK, there forms competitions. There's like 40 people in the country who do it. There's barely anyone in the whole country who does forms.
Well, this is all just musings. I have no fucking clue what goes on in the.
Well, I've seen their competitions, and there's like no one there. There's people competing in divisions where there's 2 people in the division and stuff.
Yeah, but I figured that was just because there's so many competitions.
They do have them every week.
It seemed like they just have like they've got like the highest level world championships every other day, well, especially in the summer.
It's how you end up with, and I won't name names, but there's quite a few trickers who will say like, 15-time world champion, and I've seen it like 70-time world champion, and I would cringe myself out. I wouldn't be able to call myself 70 times. You've not even been alive 70 years. How many world championships are there? Like, what are you counting as a world championship?
I don't know. I think for me, from a comedy aspect, I love it. I love it so much. When people have got
70-time world champion.
I have seen it. Like I've seen over 100. I've seen people with over 100, and it's like, did you do that in the space of 4 years? Because a lot of these people, they don't. It's not like they're competing their whole lives. They'll compete in the lower leagues and stuff, and then they'll take it seriously for like 3 or 4 years. And in those 3 or 4 years, they're just competing every weekend, and they can get like 5 world championship titles in the space of like 3 hours on a Saturday afternoon.
I just like I don't knock anyone for competing if they enjoy it and they're getting these like trophies and stuff. But I wouldn't be shouting about it. It's like it's like when I competed, when I battled at Adrenaline, and I was eighth on the Adrenaline Power Rankings. I wasn't shouting about that because I was like, I know I'm not number 8 in the world. I'm not gonna go shouting about that. So I don't understand the people who are like 70-time world champion when they know there's loads of people who are better than them.
Well, having said that, someone just said the martial arts market is making so much money off of medals, belts, and trophies. They just be stacking competitions. Now, that is a very good point because it is just a business. Like the competitions and stuff are just a business, and they just make, and the whole, like all of the schools and stuff, it's a very lucrative business as well because as martial arts, once you put something under the blanket of martial arts, it has a certain level of prestige where it can kind of it can warrant parents just,
and the parents don't know. They just think it sounds cool.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, oh, we'll get them competing, and like they'll get to compete in the world championships every other weekend. And it's like, I don't know, it's fair enough, but I don't know. I wouldn't be shouting about this kind of shit.
No, but like I get it with kids. I get it with kids, like because they're gonna like trophies, and they should. They're kids. But when you get people pushing 30 talking about how they're a 100-time world champion, like, come on, man.
I think it's a bad thing when you give everyone a medal. I do. I think it breeds. I think it breeds some weak ass bullshit that causes. I think a lot of the time it does.
I think it's just a mindset because
I know, but it breeds that mindset.
Well, I've been given medals plenty of times, but I just didn't care about like having them. It depends if the person who's receiving the medal thinks, "Oh, this means I did good." Yeah, but even as a kid, when I got medals, I was like, "Well, if I didn't win, I don't give a shit." Like,
yeah, but there's going to be a lot more people that are just like soft enough to just be like, "Oh, well, at least I get the medal. I want to do this more often because I get the medal." They're like, "You're a fucking lunatic." There's going to be you've been a 65-year-old man from birth. You just haven't. You're like the opposite of Benjamin Button. Oh wait, no, I don't know. You're some kind of crazy variation of Benjamin Button. But
what? Oh, me being an old man.
You've been an old man.
I've been an old man since I was 12 years old.
But
I've been ranting since I was 12 years old. I used to rant at the dinner table about all kinds of things. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my point is, you're not the average man, are you? let's keep it a buck. You're just not. So there's not going to be as many kids knocking about going, "Oh, I was fucking stupid. Why would they give me why? It's just a waste of money. All this material, all this money that's gone on these medals at 7 years old." Also, yeah, that Stora cap is sick.
Oh, I
really like it.
I got it for my birthday. I got this. Oh, I got it right here, actually. Got the Stora crew neck as well.
Yeah, that's sick.
Yeah, Scar got it for me for my birthday, just on Saturday. Now I'm pumped. Like I was tramping in this earlier. This hat doesn't come off, even when you like quadding. Doesn't come off. Like I've tried training in my other caps. They just get filled with sweat, and it's disgusting. And also they fly off after any trick. But this, I could trick in it, so you don't have to see my bad hair. You get to look at this sweet cap. How about that? How about that, eh?
Well, I'm actually going to be doing a very small run of Soul Piety caps. Just because I want one. I've got 2 caps.
You need breathable ones like this,
bro. I just want a cap.
Sick.
They're hard to find. I've got. Do you know how many samples I've got over the years? And like, I feel like these are probably custom made as well. And if they're custom made, very different. But you need a much higher quantity. And I don't think there's going to be 500 people that are going to want to buy a cap from Omid, because I don't even wear caps that often.
Oh, but maybe there'll be one person who wants to buy 500.
Oh.
Hey,
Matt, will you buy 500?
Oh, please. Come on, Matt.
Someone right now, PayPal me the money for 500 caps. But yeah, there was something else that I wanted to talk about with regards to the forms things. Okay. Do you think there's going to be do you think there'll ever be another wave of martial arts based trickers? Or do you think the amount of people getting into tricking will have, like, overall over the next, say, like 10, 15 years, do you think that will affect the amount of people that end up doing like forms and stuff? Because I think it will.
Wait, what do you mean? What do you mean?
Like, because more people are going to be exposed to tricking because it will get bigger and bigger.
Oh, and like link back.
Yeah. Do you think it'll be like? Do you think?
I think more people. Just tricking's, it's just more of a fun thing. Like, lots of people leave sport karate to do tricking, but who's leaving tricking to do sport karate? I'm sure there's some, but I think it's just people who are into like trophies, you know. Because why else would you do it? It costs loads of money.
Yeah, that's something I'd
it's
never.
It's way more restrictive. Yeah. Like, you could still train form stuff and just be tricking. Like, why would you want to just go pay loads of money to get a trophy to competing against 3 people?
Well, I'm gonna do it because I remember there was a competition. I'll never forget this. Nathan, so the owner of our gym, Nathan, he's deep into the martial arts world and the forms world, and he was hyping up. He was telling us about this competition that he was going to, and he was talking about it for weeks. He was super excited, and then he pulled up, did the thing. And then when he was back, I was like, "Oh, was it a good turnout with it?" And he was like, "Nah, not really, but you know, it was a world championship, so it was a good thing for the sport." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." I was like, "Who won? And like, how many people were there?" It was like, "Well, the person didn't actually have to compete in one of the leagues because there was no one else competing." I was like, "Well, hang on, you're fucking telling me all this guy did? This guy literally just pulled up and paid to become world champion.
He just paid, got a trophy, and he's a martial arts world champion."
Bro,
but those same people, he'd probably post about that.
I know.
That's the bit I don't get. But yeah, Josh says you may see more dojos promoting tricking in their place to teach students, which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Like, if I ran a martial arts dojo, then I'd use that as a way to get people through the door. Like, you can learn these sick flips. And if they've never seen it before, then they're going to think, well, part of learning these sick flips is learning the hands and all of that. So they just get into that. Because lots of people... And I get it's fun. I think working on any skill's fun. So I've not done it enough to know, but I'm sure it's fun.
But honestly, and I don't know whether this is just like younger, because like we've taught thousands of kids over the years, and it feels like the majority of kids, when they're doing our classes, just tricks. I don't know whether they're just saying it to us or I hear them saying it to other people just because they think it's more cool or not. But it feels like most of them don't actually enjoy forms that much, and they just kind of feel forced to do it. And I know there's going to be a lot of people that do really enjoy it, but I just don't think, I feel like any kind of establishment that's kind of forcing kids to do something that they don't necessarily like is kind of, well, if there's also something that
I don't think they're being forced to. I think, because I've seen that with a lot of kids as well, and adults. It's weird, the adults who still do it. It's weird, adults who do forms and complain about doing forms the whole time. They're always talking about the politics and how it's all messed up.
Yeah.
And I think, well, why do you do it then? You're a grown man. Don't do it then. But yeah, like I don't know. I'm sure lots of people do enjoy it as well, but
they
it's
just
weird.
complain about it a lot.
Just out of other sports, because I've met people who do plenty of different sports, and forms is a strange one because everyone I meet who does it, they just complain about it the whole time. They just talk about how, like, all these problems and how they don't like it and how it's just about who has the most money and time to go to competitions. And it just makes me think, like, why do you do it then?
Yeah, and also, like, just anything, like, because for me, like, traveling to events and stuff is great. Like, I love traveling to events, but I've heard people saying, "Oh, I've got to drive for an hour and a half to go to this event, and so that I can compete." And it's like, what? Why are you doing it? Like, I wouldn't do that shit. It's like if someone wanted me to travel to some kind of knitting convention that was like 3 hours away, I'd just be like, well, no, because I don't want to do that.
Omid, I have an idea.
What is
Josh, if you're still listening, we did like a three-way Skype call with Peen the other day, which is going to be out later in the week. So we're going to start doing more interviews with people like that and then put them on YouTube. So Josh, if you're listening, if you're interested, it'd be great to interview you. It'd be great to talk to someone who actually like really knows about this stuff, because we don't know that much. We're just looking from the outside. But it'd be really interesting to talk to someone who knows about this. So that'd be cool. That'd be cool. I wanted to respond to one of these comments. Hello, Kojo. I'm wondering if we have to pay in order to enter tricking battles. Now, most of the time, you have to pay to go to a gathering, and then the battles are there, or pay for an event and you get to compete in battles as part of that. There are events where you do pay to enter the battles, yeah. And also for the big events, like Hooked, if you're going to be a competitor, chances are you're probably getting into the event for free because you're really good at tricks if you're going to be a competitor or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of how it works.
Yeah. For the bigger events, that's usually the case with any of them. I feel like there's not that many battle-based events.
Well, I've not. There's a French one. Have you seen the French one where they're all kind of crowded in a room?
Oh yeah. It looks like a b-boy cipher in a warehouse, but it's tricking battles. What is it? Is it U-Kick? Or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. I think that's it. I got invited to that, but I didn't want to go. Because it was weird. There was a point in time where I kept getting invited to France.
Yeah, I had that for a few.
I got invited to France like for 3 different things within a month, and I was like, "That's too much France." Like,
dude, I had the exact same thing. I think maybe like a year and a half ago, I had like I ended up just kind of cancelling all the events I was going to because I was done. I'd been out of the country for like 6 months, and I was like, I need to lay down. Someone let me lie down for a bit. So I just had to say like, no, I can't go to any of these events. And I think 3 of them or 2 of them were France. But Jedward said, "What wine are we drinking, Omid?"
What you got?
I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't know. My sister poured it for me, but it's red. I would say, hang on, wait. So we're going to do a new segment. So as part of the Church of Shromid, we're going to do wine tasting. Hang on.
You dirty little shrimp. Stop.
I would say it's a Cabernet Sauvignon, very fruity, and it makes my tail jiggle. Oh, this is so silly.
Fantastic.
Josh said we should do it, so
we should.
Yeah,
I'll message you tomorrow, not today, because I need to go to bed in a minute.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot. I've got a new filter. What? I've got a new filter. Hang on, let me see if I can find it. You say some shit while I'm looking for this.
All right, well, you do that.
While I piss about. Oh, it's not on here? Oh, I don't know, Larry.
All right, I'm going to see what people are saying. Someone said, Tricks Matt said, come to U-Kick. Maybe at some point. It's always good to go to a new gathering. I'll tell you a little thing about France, actually. So I always thought, as an Englishman, you know, when France comes up, we just think like, well, France is shit. That's the default. But after traveling through France for a month and hanging out there in a van, France is actually amazing. The people are very snooty, moody, starey. Not all of them, most of them. But the country is beautiful. Like their towns and their mountains and lakes and shit and their beaches. France is a beautiful country.
When I was younger,
everyone's snooty, you know?
When I was younger, I went to the south of France and I had nothing but positive experiences. And then when I got older, because I was just in nature, I went on some like school trip and I was in a kayak for like 2 days, just like chilling, running down this river in my little kayak. And I was having a great time. But then as I got older, I started going to like Paris and where else have I been? I've been to Marseille, I think. I don't know. I've been to Paris.
When did you go to Marseille?
I don't know.
You sure it's Marseille?
Did I go to Marseille?
I think it was me that went to Marseille.
I swear I've been to Marseille, but I can't think.
When? For what?
I don't know.
I think I went to Marseille and told you about my tragic experience there. That's where I had the most.
Is that when you climbed the tree and fucked your back?
No, that was Lyon.
Oh, okay.
Marseille was when Scar, reading the map, made me take the wrong turn in the van, and then I'm in this van with my steering wheel on the wrong side because it's an English van, and I'm in the center of Marseille in rush hour. The streets are incredibly thin with cars parked on both sides. I'm struggling to get around corners. She just commented, "Excuse you." But I mean, that's what happened. It stressed me out. That did. It's burnt into my memory. I've got scars from that.
But,
I've been. Trix Matt said, "Come to Montpellier. It's better than Marseille. It's way better than Marseille. Way better than Marseille. Marseille's sketch."
I've definitely been somewhere else in France, but I can't think where.
I don't think it was Marseille though. I don't know what. I can't think of an event they've had there. When have you gone anywhere else in France without your mate Sam Kojo? Me at Sam_Kojo.
I mean, Trix Matt said Marseille is a bad city.
Oh. Scar said, "Remember the wild hogs?" Yeah, where we slept for the night in the van. There were just these wild hogs running around outside the van. It was cool, but
oh, you told me about that. Weren't they snuffling? They were like outside the flag.
Yeah.
I love it when animals snuffle. It's one of my favorite things. When you can't see them, but you can hear them. Yo, actually, that reminds me. So I think maybe 5 times over the past 2 weeks, I've got my window open every night because it's ridiculously humid in the UK for some reason right now. And I hear this sound, and it sounds like there's a geyser on my wall, just like... And I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
He's just walked up a load of stairs. And he's...
No, it feels like I'm going to peek out of the window and look down. It's just some geezer, fingers and feet on the wall, just like...
It's Phil Mitchell.
And so I heard it, and I was like, what the fuck is that? I went downstairs. My sister was out. My sister was in the kitchen. I was like, can you fucking hear that? And then we walked outside, and I thought there was a geezer, dude. It sounded just like a man. And I walked to the end of the garden, and there's fucking 2 hedgehogs snuffling around. And one of them sounds like he's got the worst asthma or cocaine addiction this side of the equator. It's ridiculous. I'm like, brother, you need to get your sinuses sorted. It's pissing me off. Fucking crazy. Apparently it's common as well. I Googled it. There's tons of videos of all these hedgehogs with bad nostrils. It's mental. Yeah.
Bro, we got hedgehogs. We got hedgehogs in my garden.
Do they go?
They stay right down the end, so I don't hear them. But okay. Probably. You know.
Maybe it's the same ones.
Yeah. They just came to visit me. Oh, you're Omid's mate, aren't you? Just outside my window.
We had Omid talking to you the other night.
Thought we'd come round. See how you're doing. I heard you're more lenient with hedgehogs.
I discovered that you should never give hedgehogs dairy. Don't give them chocolate or milk or anything. Apparently it kills them.
I'm just thinking of you feeding one of them milk from a little bottle.
Yeah,
it's just suckling. You got a little hedgehog
like this, and I've got a little bottle just with a little hedgehog. Oh, do you remember that picture of me holding the skunk?
Yeah.
Dude, that's one of my favorite pictures of all time.
One sec, let me just interject. It's so funny that someone just commented, "Coolest basic flip," and we're just talking about hedgehogs.
And skunks.
Love it.
Should we bring it back to the flips?
Yeah, because I had another topic.
What were the other topics? Yeah.
My other topic was, should there be tricking weight classes or height classes in battles? And I think there should be. And I'm going to make my case right now, okay?
Well, okay, so, before you go off on your rant.
All right. I saw it.
You got the Bane mask on. You just like... I wanna preface this by saying, because I know how this is gonna go, and I know how it's gonna kind of end up. It's gonna be both of us complaining because we're larger men. We're both about 6 foot. He's a tank clearly, and I've got a double D breast cup at least. And basically what we've both discovered and what we've both realized over the years is that it's not a coincidence that there's all of the best trickers, the very best trickers on the planet are all under like 5'7", 5'8". And
they're all tiny men.
It's no coincidence. And it's because the same way in like any kind of martial art, like boxing or fucking MMA or anything like that, you can't have people that are way bigger than everybody else just battering all the smaller people. Now, if you flip it around, because tricking, obviously you need to be lighter and also stronger, but it needs to be like relative.
Like you could say, oh, but there's no contact in tricking. You don't actually like go like do anything head to head. So why should it matter how big each of you are? Well, I see it in the same way as like in the NBA. If you're 5'10" and someone else is 6'10", if you two work the same amount, you both try your absolute best, train really hard, the guy who's 6'10" is going to win. And it's the same in tricking. Clearly, smaller trickers have an advantage. They weigh less. They get hurt less. They don't bottom out floors. When I do power tricks on floors, I reach the bottom of the springs. Like, they can push into the springs and go. I reach the bottom. It's like, it's different with bigger people. That's why there isn't a single, like, big tricker who is even in the top 16 at hooked. So it would be cool if there were different divisions and there was like one for taller people, so that the taller people would have a reason to compete, because it would actually be a fair competition. It wouldn't be massively like, unbalanced.
Do you think it should be height or weight?
So I think the cool thing about weight is that you can change it. So people could get into different weight categories, and it wouldn't be like, it would separate height as well, because taller people are going to be heavier. And any smaller person who's really heavy set and weighs a lot, well, they don't have that much of an advantage anyway, because they weigh loads. They're really heavy, So it would be cool that you can just kind of, people could variate a bit. And if they wanted to go up a weight class, then they could. Whereas height, you might be 1 centimeter off, and you're just competing against people who are like 5 foot. So
That's fair. Well, sorry, I started laughing halfway through that because
which one?
Someone said, while we're talking about the size of trickers, someone just put, "I wish I had big eyes." Dude, I wish I had bigger eyes. I don't know what's happened to me over the years. My eye, you can blindfold me with a piece of dental floss at this point, the most of the time. It's fucking annoying.
You've got big bulbous eyes, right?
Fuck off. Oh god. Anyway, yeah, I think I agree with that in terms of like whether it should be weight or height, because at the end of the day, I was a little fatty. I became a little fatty, and then I changed it. I changed it because I started running and I was working out every day, and now I'm not as much of a fatty. I got fat tits. I got fat tits. Let's keep it.
Off your fat tits. Back onto the topic. All right. One of these comments is relevant. Jeff says, "Don't trickers with bigger body can get better form?" Personal opinion. So I think what he means by that is trickers with bigger bodies can do bigger extended movements and stuff, which is true. I think, like me watching Mason Rowley in person, that was more entertaining, more impressive than watching Shosei. Like, obviously Shosei was awesome to watch too, but Mason Rowley, it was like watching a whole nother show. It was like a whole different thing. It was incredible. But that doesn't win you battles. Mason Rowley doing aerial, front swing, raise, front swing, cork semi, swing into Gumby double cork to split is incredibly sick. But no judge is ever going to vote for that over Shosei doing a combo with a double full snapu in and like a dub trip and some cheap 12s. Like no one's ever going to vote for that one, because the small guys, it's just so much higher level that they're just going to win anyway. Like, it doesn't mean it's harder, because to move like Mason Rowley is just as hard as doing some incredibly high level power moves. But it's just not going to be appreciated in the same way. It's kind of comparing apples to oranges. Whereas if you had big trickers competing against each other, then it would be more of an even playing field. The difficulty level would be lower, but we'd see loads of really big, impressive tricks. So it'd still be a spectacle to watch.
Well,
but
I
the
think
difficulty level will be lower, and it would be a good competition instead of competing against small guys and having no chance.
no, I feel that, and I agree with that, and I think it would be a really, really good thing for the sport, to be honest with you, because I mean, in terms of practicality and actually like implementing it into the battles, of course, that would end up being hassle. There's just no two ways about it. It would just end up making the whole thing twice as long. But with the amount of people that would then actually compete, because like for me, like, and you said this as well, like I would be much more inclined to battle if I wasn't just battling the people that are doing essentially a whole different thing to me. Because the people that are doing like, I don't know, 7 dubs at this point, and like the insane amounts of twist because they can move their body a lot faster because they're a lot smaller. I would be more inclined to battle someone, even someone like Slava, who does high level power tricks, but he's not going to be doing quite the same as some of the smaller guys.
There's
but,
just certain like, go on.
Sorry, what do you think? Okay, so if you use like because you use the Shosei and Mason Rowley kind of, I don't know, like example. How do you think someone like Mason Rowley would fare against someone like Slava? Because Slava is a more power, and he does do stylish shit, and his tricks do look great, but he is more leaning on the power side of things. And in my opinion, obviously I've not seen Mason in person, but it would seem as though the majority of judges would favor more kindly towards someone like Slava, just because.
That's one that would just completely depend on the day and who did their combos better. Either of them could win that.
Oh, you reckon?
Yeah.
I mean, because like I say, I love Mason. You know I love Mason. I've loved him.
Yeah, but you've not seen it in person. I know,
that's what
his tricks look. Him doing side swipe, semi, raise, dub to split looks amazing in video. His tricks look 10 times as good in person.
No, I know, and it's like, this is why I'm asking you, like how it would kind of fare, because there are some.
I wouldn't like. I think okay, so
Slava
would probably win. I think Slava would probably win just because of his range and his combo length and like a bit higher difficulty level. Yeah. But that doesn't mean he would win. I think Mason would also have a good chance. It wouldn't be like a sure thing.
No, that's fair. That's fair. I fuck with that. It's just because like, depending on the level of difficulty, it's a weird one when you're judging something like that, because like, well, not like that, but like when someone's doing something that's way harder, but the other person's doing something that looks way better, it's a hard one to judge because it depends on how much the one outweighs the other.
Well, yeah. Someone said, "Be the judge, Kojo." I might judge. I got asked to judge last time and I didn't because I wanted to sit up on the stands and drink and watch the battles, and yeah. But this time I might judge.
Nah, oh wait, we spoke about this actually.
What?
I don't know.
Someone said, Kojo, I was stretching for a month for a split and couldn't see progress. What the fuck? It's a month. Stretch for 5 more years. A month is nothing at all. You've not done anything. 5 more years. All right.
Message him in exactly 5 years from this date.
Yeah, message me in 5 years. Let me know how it's gone.
Oh, you're so funny.
So someone said, end of the day, it's all about execution and difficulty on the day. Yeah, but much more about difficulty. Just the way tricking is judged is more about difficulty. That's not saying I want it to be that way, but that's just the way it has been for the last 5 years, last 10 years even. Yeah.
Nah.
Look, someone said, do you guys think Shosei winning with short power combos against longer creative combos is a bit unfair? And yeah, I do agree with that. But the thing is, if someone did do a really good longer creative combo against him, then he'll just do a longer power combo and he'll still win.
And he'll also throw some, I don't know, like, yeah. I don't think that's, I agree if that were the case, but that doesn't happen. Like, there's never been an instance where someone's done a really long, creative, interesting combo and it hasn't been either a close call or they haven't got the point. You know what I'm saying? Like, because if it was
just don't go for the long creative combos because they're hard to pull off in a battle. So
yeah. Omid versus Zen would be a weird battle. It's hard to judge that. Fuck now, what are you talking about, brother? Zen would destroy me.
Oh, you just have to do big extended moves.
That, you see, that's the thing. If he went too hard, which I don't see why he would, because there's not as much on the line, because he's probably going to win anyway. But if, that's the only way that I'd probably be able to pull that one out of the bag. I would like, you see, if there was no pressure on me, if I could figure out a way of like of controlling my mind when I'm in a battle, I would like to compete more often. And it's something that I would like to do because it's interesting and I just think it's a bit of fun. But it's like, if I don't have control of my mind and I'm going to increase the risk of injury, then I'd rather just fuck it off and not do it.
Well, I think, like, I'm on a bit of the same page. Like, now we're talking about this because in my head, like, for a while now, I've always thought, well, I've just retired from battles because there's no point doing them because there's a huge risk to my body. And it's not like I'm going to win a big competition because you've got to think about, like, the difference. If I'm competing against someone who's 10 years younger than me, weighs about half as much as me, is like nearly a foot shorter than me, it's like playing basketball against someone who's 6'10". It's just not an even matchup. So what is the point of me doing it? But if there were height classes or something, then I would battle because it would be like a level playing field. So I'd actually feel like, well, I'm against someone else who's dealing with the same things as me. So it's a fair matchup.
Well,
you know?
I agree with that. But for me, I think it's kind of down to the way that I could control my mind during a battle. Because, like, if I have to, because the thing is, like, I've had this so many times when during a battle, I should just fall down. Like, if I've done the trick, but I'm kind of off balance, but I'm so focused on just like making sure I don't fall on my ass. And like, I wouldn't injure myself if I fell down. It's just like a pretty controlled bail, but I'll force myself to stay on my feet and then I'll overstretch something or I'll pull something. And that's the shit that pisses me off because I'm so focused on landing that it's not an option for me to then just be like, oh, it's okay. Like, I'll just land safely. Whereas if I could control my mind, then I would be much more willing to do that. And it's something I'd like to work on. But
controlling your mind, like, you're going to get better at that from battling, and you'd want to battle more if you were against people who are the same sort of size and it was like a fair competition. So you would get better at that. So yeah, that kind of ties in. So someone's saying weight. So the shorter you are, you have greater potential. I'm 5'3". So basically, there's no settled science on this, but you can look at gymnastics, and really short people succeed in gymnastics as well. But in tricking, if you take all of the top, let's say the top 10 people in terms of like difficulty level, every single one of them will be under 5'7". Every single one of them will be pretty goddamn light. I'm not sure exactly how much they weigh, but probably under 60 kg. Every one of the best trickers in the world. You got Alexander Anderson, tiny little man. Michael Guthrie, tiny little man. Jacob Pinto, tiny little man. Shosei, Zen, tiny men. Fuju, tiny man. Haruki, tiny man. Taka, broad, but tiny man. They're all tiny men. Like, try and think of one.
Taka is dense.
Yeah. Someone said Nick Fry. Yeah, tiny man. Could you imagine? Do you think someone who was 6'3" or whatever would be able to do what Nick Fry does and land in the way he does? Could you even picture that in your head? Because there's a reason you haven't seen that, you know?
Well, I have landed like that. I landed
not like that
Nick
one Fry.
No,
like
listen.
Nick Fry.
I landed like that one time, and it injured my adductor and my hip flexor, and it's been injured for nearly 2.5 years now.
But like the way Zen lands on most tricks, this doesn't work if you're taller and weigh a lot. You break your legs. It doesn't work in the same way.
I don't know. I think we should definitely mention how, like, because for me, I would love it if this was like concrete, if it was like a definitive thing. If there were some studies. This is the most logical explanation. And it also, if you just look at it on the surface, it makes sense. You don't even need to look too deep into it. Like, and eventually, like, it would make a lot more sense if there were studies. But as of right now, if you just think about it, because I don't want people to be thinking that we're just like older, taller men just complaining. Because that is it could be perceived that way,
We're
but
not old. You need to stop saying that. You need to stop acting like we're old
I
because
said
we're
I
not, and
said
it's a
older.
mindset.
I said older because we're
No, yeah,
talking about 15-year-olds.
true. Not
We're
all of
talking
them
about
though. Mike Guthrie's older than
15-year-old
me.
Japanese. Huh?
Michael Guthrie's older than me, and you.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying that like the average generally people are I don't know, the people that are at the peak of tricking, like the pinnacle of tricking, sorry, they're usually between like the 17 and 21 kind of age.
Yeah.
But having said that, it is getting younger and younger because like I think it will reach a point where like someone who's like 12 is really pushing shit. But I think I don't, huh?
That already happened.
No, I mean like it, but like they are. Well, who? Wait, what do you mean?
That's all. Well, first off, Aidan Kennedy won hooked at 12. And then you've got like Jose was already doing all these world's firsts at 13. Like it's already pretty much happened, you know?
But I'm saying like imagine if Jose what Jose is doing right now, but how old is he now? 15, 16?
I think he's 15.
15. But I think people will start even younger than Jose and then get even better than Jose did in the amount of time. So it's like the ideal age will slowly get younger and younger the more people that are exposed to tricking. And I'm not saying that we're old because we're not. Like I'm fucking 25 for fuck's sake. Like it's nothing. But like Mateo didn't even start until now.
Yeah. No, I like to just think of Will Conies. He's 30.
Yeah.
And Will Conies is doing really strong tricks on concrete all the time and has been since he was like 13 years old. So you can keep doing it. Someone said, does the age include in judging? He's younger and he did that, something like that. I don't think age should be included in judging at all. And whenever people say age divisions, like, I don't think there's any point doing that in tricking because, like, being younger is an advantage. When people are like, oh, I did this and I'm only 14, it's like, well, yes, it's way easier. You've got, all you have to do is go to school and you can just think about training. Your body recovers pretty much the next day after any session because you're a teenager.
The only difference is
it's way easier to get better as a kid. Like,
but the only difference is kids are dumb as fuck.
Kids are dumb. Like,
they
that's
are.
the disadvantage.
But
yeah.
I
if
think
they got a coach, though,
if you've got like
a coach.
Yeah. If you've got a coach or you're just on a particular path, once you figure out like a kind of, I don't know, a trajectory as a child, you can kind of just do the same thing and just get better and keep going that way until your brain develops and you're no longer a fuck. Because I was a fuck until about a year ago. But I mean, I'm still a fuck, but I got my own cult. What are you going to do? Like, fucking Jesus Christ. All right, it's enough of Shramit now.
So someone said, I need a coach. Well, you know what? Sam Kojo has made over 200 hours of information available for $12.50. If I started tricking and there was that, Jesus. I try not to rant about it.
Earlier on,
but even from a perspective, even if it was like free, even if I could give it to, I wish I could just give it to people for free so I can see, like, look at this. This is just there and you're just not watching it. You are spending like a year trying to improve at a move that you could have learned in a week if you just watch these videos. It's just, and they're saving $12.50. They're doing it all to save $12.50, not watching these things that will save them years of their life. Someone said, I know
Kojo. Don't be stressed.
Well, just, okay, because no one ever does this. No one ever does this. Put yourself in my shoes. Imagine spending nearly 3 years working pretty much every day. At least a whole year of that was doing 60 hours a week, making all of these videos, paying trickers, paying over £50,000 at this point to trickers around the world to make videos for this website. Imagine doing all of that and still every day you have people messaging you, asking you for advice on tricks. And then you tell them, oh, I've spent 3 years of my life creating this. And they're like, I don't want to spend $12.50 though. Imagine you were me. Imagine that. You know, like.
Well, you think you've got it bad.
It's not that bad.
Yeah. Fucking okay. Well, first thing, just off the back of you going on your little rant about KTO, I can't even escape it. It's like it's happening to me because Kojo, he'll be messaging me, just me and him in the conversation, and he'll be telling me how I need to sign up. I'm like, fuck off. Like, he just doesn't stop. But you think you've got it bad. I put all this free content out. I try my best to put all this free content out to entertain the world. Someone commented on one of my show and locals videos yesterday, right? And I told him, I had to tell him about it.
What they say?
He said, it was something like, first of all, this isn't, your flips aren't insane. Because obviously the video is called showing Tokyo locals insane flips. So obviously he was like, okay, your flips aren't insane. Second of all, you can't impress Japanese people. And third, all of the best trickers are in Japan. I was like, well, you know what? Fuck you then. So I typed back and I was like, okay, this video was made to reach a slightly wider audience. Secondly, there's not that many guys on the planet that can bang out 10 gainer switches on concrete whenever they want. And anybody that doesn't know what tricking is, my flips are going to be pretty fucking insane. And then the final point is, there's not going to be that, it's not going to quite have the same ring to it if I call the video showing Tokyo locals slightly under average.
That's so funny though.
You know what I'm saying? I'm just
first off, it's not insane. All right, let me respond to a couple of these. First, we've got Dilk saying, you guys are acting like the world's unfair or something. And I know what Dilk's like. And yeah, Dilk, don't be jelly. Come on now. We both greatly appreciate our lives and we've worked to make them happen.
Yeah.
And just ranting about things that are going on in my life. If you heard the rant, like, yeah. And someone else said, I'll just use Kojo's free. Let me just respond to this. I'll just use Kojo's free content on Kyle's channel. So you've got 1% of like 100% of the information. So you're going to be way worse than you would have been, but you saved $12.50. Good job. All right.
I like this new approach because it's like, you're just a lot more real with it now. As the years have progressed, you've just got to the point where you're kind of like, you know what? This is just a fact.
It was true, isn't it?
It is because I use the site all the time, and if you don't use it, if you've got the tools available to you and you're not using them for $12.50, that's a couple coffees, Brett. Like, and also it's lockdown. I'm not getting coffees as much as I would like, so you know it's fine. I don't know.
We're running out of time, aren't we?
Yeah, we've got like 10 seconds left. But someone said,
ranting, though.
Omid getting all the girls in Tokyo. Fucking hell yeah. They were giggling and clapping and they kept going, ooh. I walked into a coffee shop and they were like, and they just giggled. And that's it. Peace.